Hello, friends. Today I wanted to recommend a couple of books to you, and rather than writing about them, I want to read a little bit from each book to you because I think we take in words and stories differently in audio video form than we do just reading typescript on a virtual page. So this is an experiment on my part, and I hope that it's useful to you and fun as well. The first book is Heartwood, The Wisdom and Healing Kinship of Trees by Lindsey Branham. Heartwood is part memoir, part impassioned plea to reconnect with nature, specifically trees, and understand them as beings that have lessons and kinship to offer us in our lives. And it's a sort of new genre, I would say, of ecological memoir, ecological spiritual memoir. Fascinating book. Lindsey was here in Paonia, where I live, Paonia in western Colorado, in the western part of North America, the part that's currently in drought and burning. Lindsey was here in Paonia to do a program, and it was fantastic to listen to her talk about the book and to read some from it. So here's a short bit to give you the flavor of Heartwood, which is not one of those books you would read through from beginning to end. It's a book to dip into and savor and think about what it means for your life. Branham writes, "The body is a place, a topography, geography, and landscape. We are watersheds, valleys, and great basins. We are plateaus, canyons, and ravines. The specificity, location, and dynamic life of the place of our bodies is the pathway to relationship with our earth family. We can only know a place from a vantage point, a perspective, and a view. Our bodies are that horizon." Think about that. Our bodies are that horizon. They are a pathway into a relationship with this earth. What is this place? Meaning, what is this body? A human body is made up of 84 minerals, 23 elements, and 8 gallons of water spread across 38 trillion cells. We are not just a discrete entity, but rather are myriad and numerous. The body is comprised of endless relationships, connections between our cells, bacteria in our gut, and infinitely layered exchanges with the rhythms of the world. Our bodies are in constant exchange with the earth. We take in food, absorb light through our skin, drink and process water, host trillions of microorganisms, and respond hormonally to our environment. There is no such thing as a singular body. We are, in fact, legion. I was recently on a plane, and from above, the American West looked like a giant copper wash. Out of the center of the wide open high desert expanse wound the Colorado River. From the air, the waterway looked like an aorta, the cane-shaped vessel that carries oxygen-rich blood through the human body. But from 25,000 feet, it looked like the Earth's aorta, also snaking like the cane inside our breaths, this one channeling aquatic and riparian life through the patchwork below in their own nutrient transport system. I traced the scattered lines of the Earth's skin from above as if we breathed through one heart, as if the contours of our bodies mirrored one another, because they do. The precipice of my body was the map to hear the land and know the earth in turn. That's just one small bit of this really beautiful and deeply wise and deeply vulnerable book, Heartwood, The Wisdom and Healing Kinship of Trees by Lindsey Branham. And I would add to Lindsey's wisdom that although she writes about trees and our relationship with them, that is basically what she writes is true of all plants and in some ways of all living beings. So this book is a wonderful and lyrical and well-researched link to a personal relationship with nature that goes far beyond just the talking about it, that goes into the sensations and the spirit and the heart, and what we can learn from specific other species about ourselves and about life in the community of the land. Heartwood, The Wisdom and Healing Kinship of Trees. The other book I wanted to read to you from and recommend is a brand new one. Lindsey's book is quite new, but not just last week or the week before. This one, Remembering Earth, by Emmanuel Vaughan-Lee. Remembering Earth with a subtitle of A Spiritual Ecology by Emmanuel Vaughan-Lee. Vaughan-Lee is the founder and executive editor of Emergence magazine, which if you don't know, you'll want to look up. It's a really beautiful magazine that looks at eco-spirituality and our spiritual relationship with the earth. And you might notice there's a million post-it notes. Okay, there's several dozen post-it notes, let's be correct, here of things that I wanted to note and remember from this book. Vaughan-Lee grew up in the Sufi mystical tradition. He's British, and that informs this book. There's just, in terms of spirituality of the earth and of our relationship with nature, this book is really, really deep, and there's a lot from it I would read to you. There's one particular passage here we are, that I was looking for, where he's talking about, and this is a very, very spiritual book. And again, like Lindsey Branham's book, Heartwood, this is not one that you pick up and read through from beginning to end. This is a treasure trove of wisdom about our relationship, our spiritual relationship with the earth, that includes practices. The whole latter 2/3 of it, or half of it, is specific practices to use to reconnect. But the first part is a long look at what eco-spirituality is and what it asks of us, what the earth asks of us. That's one of those things where you read a few pages and you think about it, you let it sit with you and absorb it into your perspective of your daily life. The world is calling us to witness, Vaughan-Lee writes. Both the living world and the human world are crying out for our acknowledgement. But this act of witnessing requires balance, to give our attention without becoming consumed by fear or immobilized by despair. It is to observe with clarity, to acknowledge with presence, and to remain grounded enough to respond. This is the power of stepping into the liminal, into the space between worlds. From this vantage point, we bear witness without being caught in the entanglements of old patterns and dynamics. It is as though we have stepped outside the house we have been living in and finally see that its roof is caving in, the walls rotted. This simple yet profound act of stepping back allows us to perceive the unfolding of events in a new light. Witnessing, he says, operates on many levels. On a collective level, it means holding space for the distant shifts we hear about daily and what we have come to call climate change and biodiversity loss, the melting ice, the burning forests, the disappearing species. This witnessing carries immense power when approached with maturity and presence. It asks us to say, I see you. I acknowledge what is happening. But it also asks us not to be overtaken, caught in the grip of eco-anxiety. Because if we're caught, we're not free. And if we're not free, we cannot be of service to this moment. To witness is to let our hearts break open. And if our hearts do not break, we need to go back and look again. What is unfolding demands a response from the heart. It demands that we feel the grief, the pain, the cry of the earth. This grief is not a witness. It is a key. It unlocks something essential within us. It is an honest and true response. If we are to remember the earth as a sacred living being, then our response must reflect that truth. If the earth is dying or sick or in pain, and we cannot respond with grief, with sorrow, and with a sense of profound loss, then our response is not authentic. It is not honest. Just as we would grieve for a loved one in pain, so too should we grieve for the earth. To feel deeply is to affirm the sacredness of what we are witnessing. And I want to repeat that. To feel deeply is to affirm the sacredness of what we are witnessing. It is to honor the living world not as an abstract concept, but as a being that we are in relationship with, one that acts for our presence, our attention, and our hearts. So that's from Remembering Earth, brand new, A Spiritual Ecology by Emmanuel Vaughan-Lee, very brand new from Shambhala Press. And then the other book I read from that I also recommend for these times is Heartwood, The Wisdom and Healing Kinship of Trees by Lindsey Branham, PhD. Both of these books are books that will touch your heart and your spirit, change your perspective, and give you, oddly, in these times, I think, nourishment and surcease, succor, to help you bring your gifts to these really, really difficult times, and to help you keep your balance, acknowledge your feelings, but be part of what is happening in a heartfelt, heart-open way, connected to this living earth and to each other. So there's my book review of Remembering Earth and Heartwood for you. Thank you.